Hello everybody, welcome back to another Souls ranking. This time I am covering a topic that I haven't really seen anyone else on YouTube talk about. I will be covering the Dark Souls hub areas from my least favorite to most favorite. That's about it, so let's begin. If you ask me, I think the dilapidated temple is cozy. This place really does feel peaceful with the area being surrounded by thick bamboo. However, it is the lack of importance and quantity that brings this hub down. This hub really does not serve much. You can upgrade your prosthetics here, upgrade your gourd, but even then Emma, who hosts as your technical firekeeper, leaves later on, which gives you little to no incentive to return to the dilapidated temple. A merchant and other NPCs may visit, but really the merchant is the most useful. He really saved my skin when I fought against Ishin. There's also this immortal guy that can help hone your techniques to absolute perfection. That's basically it though. There's nothing inherently wrong with this hub area, it just does not serve much value, especially if you compare it to the other games in the series. And I forgot to include it in the script, but there is this cool way to get to a separate area by praying to a Buddhist statue, so that bumps us up by a few extra points, but it's still number 7, sorry, bye. The Round Table hold is mostly average if you ask me. It provides much more spice than the dilapidated temple, but it still pales in comparison to the hubs before it. Now there are quite a few things to do here. Basically every NPC you interact with will eventually show up at the round tables, so if you want to progress any storylines, you will typically find the person you need here. Speaking of NPCs, there are a lot of them, and I think all of them are okay. I expressed in this video that I think Elden Ring NPCs and their storylines are kinda just but that's just me. Anyway, the main reason you would go here is for the bell-bearing merchants, Hedwig the blacksmith, who is one of my favorite Elden Ring NPCs, and Rodrigo, who upgrades your spirit ashes. There are some neat little secrets too, like how if you jump off this railing you'll find an invader and an extra weapon. There are also stone key fog walls, but what lies beyond them isn't really all that useful. There's also Fia, the lady who hugs you and takes away 5% of your HP, so I don't recommend going to her. The two giant fingers are a neat set piece, shout out to the mod that makes them one giant middle finger to the player, but overall the Round Table hold is a pretty nice sub-area. It looks good, the music is pretty okay, everything about it is okay. I just think every other hub does what it does way better. I love the Hunter's Dream from an aesthetic and design standpoint. There's something ominous about the colossal trees towering over you, and I remember seeing a theory about these trees being the Ash Lake trees from Dark Souls 1. Not sure how well that theory holds up though, and I don't even remember who made it, but anyway, this hub in general is absolutely stunning. The fluorescent flowers are primarily what makes it so comforting to the eye. The night sky with the moon shining is a huge bonus too. I really like how simple this hub is. It has about the same amount of quantity as Dilapidated Temple. And quantity isn't everything I want to mention. I mainly care about the quality, but what the area has in terms of quantity is valuable too. I think it executes it better here though. I love how the whole time you are just a few steps away from the final boss. One of the coolest things about this hub is the fact that the final boss takes place within the hub. His arena is one of the most gorgeous arenas to ever be designed in a video game, quite frankly, and oh, I love the detail with the buildings setting ablaze after you kill Murgo. The doll is also a really nice firekeeper. While she isn't my favorite, I do think she's sweet. I might even make a firekeeper ranking someday. Who knows? In terms of what there is to do in Hunter's Dream, there isn't much. You have a merchant, an upgrade system, and that's about it. There are chalice dungeons, but most of them don't offer much of a reward for your efforts. There's also another merchant that uses insight, which is basically Bloodborne's version of humanity, to buy special items and armor sets. The upgrade station also has this very unique feature exclusive to Bloodborne that allows you to apply attachments to your weapon to give it special properties. I like this hub. Nowhere near my favorite, but it is cozy and fun. Firelink Shrine in Dark Souls 3 is a pretty special place to me. Dark Souls 3 marks when I really got into the Souls franchise. It's one of my favorite games of all time, and I share many fond memories with the game. So why isn't it number 1, or even number 2? It's simply that the other hubs do what it does, but better in my opinion. It has a ton of stuff to do. Seriously, there's so many secrets in Firelink, it's not even funny. The lift that leads you to the Firekeeper's Soul, that also features a perilous pathway leading down to a prison with a viable ring, the Estus ring, the return of Pickle P, the Silver Serpent ring hidden behind a wall, and a few other things provide a lot of stuff to do around here. I also love the fan service here. Fan service in Dark Souls 3 has always been a somewhat controversial topic since release. If you want a more in-depth video, I recommend this video by Aaron. He does a pretty good job talking about it. Many people argue that the game has too much fan service and piggybacks off of the nostalgia of Dark Souls. I think it's just fine though. Dark Souls 3 is the conclusion of the Souls trilogy, so a lot of callbacks make sense to me. Maybe naming the place Firelink Shrine was a bit too much, but it's whatever. My favorite thing about this hub would have to be how it handles questlines. There are always NPCs moving in and out of this place. It makes it feel alive. The NPCs around here are very nice people. Firelink Shrine arguably has the best firekeeper, and Big Papa Andre is back. Music here is calming, one of my favorite tracks in the Souls series, and overall just a really nice atmosphere is provided here. I really have no complaints with this hub, excluding that I think it looks a little dull, but it makes sense with the general message of the game being that the fire is finally fading. Okay, I may get a little bit of backlash for this one. Firelink Shrine is often acclaimed to be the best hub alongside Majula, and I can see why everyone thinks this way. Just remember that all of this boils down to personal preference. If there's one thing I love about this hub, it has to be its interconnectivity. Little details like Blighttown being below you add so much more to the world than you might think. This hub is really the first time it feels like, well, a hub, a home of sorts. Rather than you teleporting to Highwall or teleporting to Yharnam, there are a multitude of branching paths. You can go the intended route, which is Undeadburg. You can progress through the catacombs and kill Pinwheel early for the Rite of Kindling. You can progress through New Londo and get an early Firekeeper soul. You can go to Blighttown early and kill Quelaag. Or you can just even go to Darkroot and skip basically all of Undeadburg. There are so many ways to progress just through Firelink Shrine, it is honestly impressive. It's what I respect the most about it. When I'm not talking about how everything is entwined seamlessly with Firelink, I'm talking about the atmosphere. Firelink truly feels like a safe place. There's a sense of euphoria upon completing the gauntlet that is the depths in Blighttown than hearing this tune. This is one of the most memorable moments to basically every Souls player. Ask them about their most memorable moment, and I guarantee most will mention what I just said. It isn't just the music that makes the atmosphere so good, it's the design in general. The ruined architecture with the mines and cracks covering every inch of it. The grass and the one tree overlooking the bonfire adds so much to the hub. This is one of the first areas where it feels sort of alive. There's also a few secrets here that are pretty cool, such as the elevator and the crow taking you back to the asylum. I also recently found out what this chest in the fountain section does. It's a failsafe for if you end up dropping a key item. Pretty cool. And did you know that Firelink was originally covered with water? There's your fun fact of the day. I'm not sure what the general consensus of hub rankings are in the community, but I believe by community standards, the Nexus would be closer to number 4. The reason why the Nexus is so high on this list is almost purely because of its aesthetic. This place radiates mystique along with serenity. It's so massive it makes me ask a lot of questions, and it irks me to explore the place. Unfortunately, there aren't many secrets in the Nexus. There's a lack of items or discovery here, but that doesn't bother me too much, unlike the dilapidated temple in Roundtable Hold. The Nexus is just chill. As you can tell, I care more about how the area feels atmospherically. Roundtable Hold and Dilapidated Temple, while they did feel cozy, they lacked what the Nexus and Dark Souls 1 Firelink felt. But like I said, the Nexus is chill. That's the simplest way to put it. I love the architecture here, especially the statue with the sword. It's such a cool set piece. I love how they use it at the end of the game to break the barrier that you stand on. The music greatly provides to the atmosphere of this area. Those moments of silence between the music creates this odd feeling of loneliness, but simultaneously brings you comfort. The Nexus in general is pretty lonely. There are a few NPCs and all of them are nice. Blacksmith Ed and Stockpile Thomas are my favorites in particular. Thomas is wholesome and feels like a father figure, and Ed is just snarky. The Nexus is also the host of my favorite Firekeeper, the Maiden in Black. She's always been my favorite in these games. She's my profile on most social media that I own. I think I'm just a sucker for video game characters that have a lack of eyes showing, considering 2B and 9S have some of my favorite designs composed in a video game ever. But that's a topic for another day. Come on. Did you really think it was going to be anything other than Majula in the #1 spot? Majula is just the perfect hub area in almost every way. It's comfy, it feels like home, and nearly every YouTuber has said something similar. But now it's my time. Majula has always been a comfort zone to me, not just in Dark Souls but in real life. Whenever I find myself stressed, I imagine Majula, the tranquil music, the roaring of the vast sea, and the fluorescent sunlight causing the whole place to shine. Majula is gleaming with atmosphere at every turn. One of the most magical moments in any Souls game has to be seeing that crack of light emit from the other side of the things betwixt. Finally stepping out and being greeted with this song. If I could write a whole video about how this song makes me feel, I would, and I just might. Majula's theme is a masterclass in video game music, and is probably my favorite video game song of all time. If you couldn't tell, music means a lot to me in video games. I believe it adds so much more than people realize, and Majula is the perfect example of that. I think a decent 80% of what makes Majula so good is the music. Majula also feels threat-free. All of the NPCs are kind, aside from the merchant. He gets a bit snobby if you buy too much from him. Majula hosts one of the best NPCs ever too, a cat lady. A literal cat girl, won't you look at that. I also love how interconnected this place is. Many people have judged Dark Souls 2 level design, but I think Majula is just as great as FIRELINK in terms of how it connects with the world. You can go to the Forest of the Fallen Giants, the Shaded Woods, Hyde's Tower Flame, or the Gutter just from Majula, and you can basically do it in whatever order you want. The most you'll need is a feather to unleash the Pyromancer Lady, and a good bit of vigor to survive the drop down to the Gutter. You can enter each and every one of these houses, and one hosts an odd underground portion, a really cool portion with books. I really like how this looks. But the underground portion is a little odd, like I said. The skeleton down here, and the fact that the music cuts off down here, makes it really unsettling, and it makes me wonder what this guy is hiding. There's a champion's gravestone, which makes the game significantly harder if you decide to pray to it, and I want to make a more in-depth video about Majula, so I think I'll cut it short here. Majula is beautiful, especially this view from the balcony. Just look right here. It's a well thought out hub that truly feels like home, and it's all I could ever ask for. If I could live somewhere in a video game, it would be here. Hey, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you. I had a lot of fun creating this video. This is probably one of the best videos I've made production-wise, and I'm really proud of it. I would appreciate it if you left a like and if you subscribed to my channel if you want to see more content like this. It helps me out, it gives me motivation to actually, make content and stuff, and I hope everyone just enjoyed the video. So thank you. Goodbye.